Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the United Stand. We're going to be talking about Varane and an unbelievable fee, but we're also going to be talking about what Solskjaer wants next and all the latest news. So I've been joined by Levin this evening. How are you doing, pal?
Yeah, I'm doing good. An exciting day to support the club. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's next and who's potentially next. But now I'm excited to be here.
No, good. It's been a very busy day. I'm very tired, so I've roped Levin in. Although he did have a busy day yesterday, tough. He's back on again tonight because there's a lot to go through. There's things about Twansebi and Matic and Barella, lots to go through. So it's easier if I just bounce it off the chat and off Levin as well to help me out tonight. But first of all, just before we talk about Solskjaer's next signing, and believe me, there is going to be a next signing, from Manchester Evening News to Simon Stone to Fabrizio Romano. They are all saying that the transfer window isn't basically over for United if Solskjaer can get his way. So we'll talk about what's going to be next, and it's probably not going to be a right back. So it'll be a midfielder, which is what we all want, which means the transfer window is the complete transfer window we want. But first of all, very interesting. Well, first of all, Levin, what are your thoughts on this Varane deal? I mean, waking up today, we might not have thought it was going to happen today, but it is happening. It has happened. A done deal. Here we go. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I don't know what's happened, but the way the deal everything accelerated yesterday, right? We start hearing reports like, things are starting to pick up again. But to get here he goes and things like that today, like I was not expecting that at all. And it's a pleasant surprise, right? It's a pleasant surprise, especially, right? I know we're going to get onto it, but when you hear the price, like, you think to yourself, wow, this is a good deal. It's a good deal. And we haven't been able to say that about United for a while when it comes to getting good deals.
It is, and look, lots of people saying fastest deal in history. Evening to Mark and Lewandowski. That's a good nickname. Levin. That's a good nickname.
Yeah,
Lewandowski.
My guy on Pro Clubs, I call him Lewandowski on Pro Clubs. So
there you go. We were just talking about doing a Pro Clubs when FIFA 22 comes out, so you might get something there. Which reminds me, I'm on Twitch tonight with a career mode, a brand new career mode on Twitch, Goldbridge TV, around 10:30 tonight, maybe closer to 11. Joining for that. We're back playing some FIFA. Looking forward to that. After the Clash creators yesterday commentating, well, it's not this. I'm still not playing, but I'm playing FIFA. But yeah. So what I was going to say, well, Levin sort of alluded to it there. The price. It's all about the Jesse J price tag. My life. What a price this is. Now, it's all over the place. You've got Samuel Lucker saying it's around 50 million euros. You've got Romano saying that. We had DiMarzio saying it was 45 million euros. We've got David Ornstein, who is a fantastic journalist, ex-BBC, now with The Athletic. Very, very good journalist. He's saying that the fee is £35 million in pounds, but there is some fee that Real Madrid have to pay, so it takes it down to £34 million. That's the deal, £34 million, which is 40 million euros. Now, there are bonuses on top of that, but the initial fee is £34 million. That is around what Konate has cost Liverpool and is about £15 million less than Ben White will be for Arsenal. Now, I'm not taking the piss out of Arsenal. I do that enough, but what I really want to, that's just bargain of the summer being unbelievable for what we're getting for 34 million or even 40 million, whatever.
And it's like, it makes you think to yourself like, wow, because I'm always complaining about the fact that there's always some sort of extra tax that we get because it's United, right? But for whatever reason, that didn't exist. Obviously, yeah, he has a year left on his contract, but even with a year left on his contract, right? Like, I wouldn't expect Varane to be that cheap. Like, because even us, right? If a team comes in for Pogba, we're not accepting 34 odd million pounds, right? And so it's like, to get that deal is insane. And not only is it insane, but compared to other people's deals and the business that's been going on around the transfer window, it's like, I'm just impressed. I'm almost speechless, not speechless, but I'm almost speechless because I just don't know how it's happened and how nobody else has jumped on it.
No, well, I did ask Romano that on the show this afternoon. I mean, I've got to say, I've seen all these videos from rival channels today with Fabrizio Romano in the title. I don't just put it in the title. I put him in the show. I put him in the box where Levin is, and I get him to say, here we go. That's what we do. That's what we do. But jokes aside, I did ask Romano about that, and he was like, well, there was interest, but he just, PSG went for Ramos, cheaper, and Chelsea said, we're interested, but the priority was something else. Well, maybe just wanted to come to United, like Romano said, but either way, The fee is ridiculous. And it's interesting when you think about, we know we're paying £80 million for Sancho, but we're doing it over 4 years. We know we're paying 34 million for Varane, maybe 40 million. I mean, realistically, we've only spent 60 million because 20 million for Sancho. We don't know the structure of the Varane deal. Maybe that's being paid over 4 or 5 years. So there is still money in the bank, and that's what we're going to talk about. We've got some news to talk about tonight, but Varane deal, we were just giving Levin an opportunity to talk about the fee there. Where would you go next? Is it into the midfield? And if so, there's so many players being mentioned, you know, the Goretzkas, the SOLSKJAER'S, the Ruben Neves, the Declan Rice, the Camavinga. There's somebody else I've forgotten, Basuma as well. What would you be looking to bring in? Is it important to you that we get a midfielder?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's quite obvious to a lot of people now that DM spot is the important spot, right? You know, you were thinking about, you know, what were our biggest issues last season? Obviously, you know, I wonder how he's feeling, but Lindelof, right, you know, a lot of mistakes there, and you sort of have flashbacks of that. And on top of that, right, you know, the DM positions, watching McFred, you know, watching the ball bounce off of Fred's foot, and he has no idea where it's going. We can't have these things next season. We can't afford to have them if we want to challenge. And I do now expect us to challenge. Like, I expect us to start challenging because, you know, the direction we've moved in over the past year or so has been impressive. So DM has to be done. It has to be done. Whoever it is, like, honestly, like, I think whoever it is has to fit a certain type of profile. But I think there's so many players around Europe. And when you ask people in chat, for example, like, oh, yo, who would you have at DM? You will see so many names. And I think it just shows how, like, we're not fussy. Like, with Varane, like, I wanted Varane, right? Like, there was Torres links, there was Koundé links, but, like, Varane's the one you want. With the DM position, sure, yeah, I want Ndidi, but I'll take, you know, whoever it is you want to throw at me. I'll take so many people over what we have. And I think once we do that, it's game. It's game for a lot of people. Teams around the league will be looking at us thinking, yeah, that's techie. We can't really deal with that. Do you know what I mean? So that has to be the priority moving forward.
It is a little bit like, you know, when you're starving hungry and you're at an all-you-can-eat buffet. For me, it would be a Chinese buffet. Am I getting some egg fried rice? Am I getting some Cantonese-style chicken, beef chow mein? It's all there in front of me and I don't know what to get. I suppose that's the difference, isn't it? You've hit the nail on the head, because with Varane, he's the number one target, you go get him. Sancho, number one target, you go get him. And you know what? Well done, United, for getting them, because they don't normally go and get the number ones. With the midfield, out of all those names I've given you or anybody else, because if you get SOLSKJAER'S, after 2 months, you might be thinking, I wish I got Ruben Neves, or I wish I got Camavinga. If United are going to do this, and I think they have to do it because there's so many options out there, and I think most of them, apart from Declan Rice, are going to be about 40 million quid. Which one would you go for out of all these midfielders that we're being linked to at the moment? Which one do you think is going to fit, and why?
So I will just clarify by saying, me personally, I think the person has to be of a profile of Ndidi. Now, I understand we can't get him, and, you know, the price just won't work. We all understand that, I think, at this stage. But that's a profile of the type of player I'm looking for. More so. Of course, he's a phenomenon. Defensively, he gives you everything. But of the players, you know, that are mentioned a lot of the time, I think Neves fits the bill quite well. I think when you look at what he can do from a deep line role, his creativity there, his ability to progress the ball, you know, he's familiar playing in that sort of position in the Premier League. I think he definitely can do a job there for us. You know, he doesn't, from what I know about Neves, he doesn't necessarily, he's not the most proactive defender. Like, he's not screening the defense like, you know, Kante would or anything, but he can get around, and I think he'd be good, especially when you have Varane and Maguire behind you, right? That's a bit more insurance for you. There are some people I was skeptical about, and not, I think all those people could do the job. Like Saul, I think he could do the job. Even Basuma, I think he could do the job, but I do have question marks about them. With Saul, I'm just worried that it's not necessarily a role that he's been asked to play a lot at Atletico Madrid, and he can play it, right? This past season's not been his greatest season at Atletico, but he's mainly been playing off the right and off the left, and when he has played in the middle, it's not been as a DM, because they play like a 4-4-2 a lot of the time, 2 CM. So, you know, he could probably do it, but I want somebody who I know is more accustomed to playing that role, right? And Neves at least gives me that, because I know he's more accustomed to playing a deeper role in the midfield. So of all those people, I'd probably go Neves.
Yeah, that's interesting from Levin. He would go Neves. I don't know what you go for in the chat. I mean, look, we've got to be realistic. We've got Varane, we've got Sancho. So, you know, Declan Rice would be my number one. I just don't see where we get the money to do that. And I think, you know, Chelsea would move for him if we wanted to anyway, and you'd prefer Chelsea. I think Ruben Neves is probably the most intelligent one because he's the Premier League proven one, and you know, he's a good footballer, and he can definitely do that pivot role, and he's done it for Wolves. I like Basuma. I do like Basuma. For some reason, there's a little bit of a risk with him more than there is with Neves, and I can't really understand why, because there shouldn't be. Saul Niguez is probably the biggest risk with the biggest reward, because if you can get him to his best, he's probably the biggest risk with the biggest reward. Goretzka, I just don't think will happen. But yeah, Levin says he'd go Ruben Neves. I'm a Declan Rice guy, but I just don't expect us to do it. I don't expect us to be able to do that. So if I couldn't get Declan Rice. You know what? I probably would go with Basuma. I do like Basuma. I'd risk it not to copy 11.
No, you know what? Like I just don't think we would be able to do the Rice deal, just because I think he'd be priced out of a deal. But if you had to pick between Rice and you know, any of the others, I think Rice as well is more of a favourite. And I had doubts about Rice, but he showed me playing for England that he is a much better player than I think people give him credit for. Because you watch him at West Ham, he plays, like, his role is much more expansive. He's doing a lot more. But in that England team, his role's a lot more limited. And people look at that and think, you know, why is that? I look at it and think, clearly he's been told to do that. That's the instructions he's being told.
Southgate way, innit?
Do you know what I mean? And for me, a player that can take tactical instructions and can be almost like a tactical sponge is a great trait to have. You don't have that with a lot of players. That's why with some of those options where maybe they don't naturally play a DM role, you think, would they be able to take those instructions? Well, Rice has shown he can. He's also shown he can be press resistant. In the Italy game, right? He's being pressed by the Italians. Barella and all them are all over him. He's dribbling around people. I was watching Rice thinking, who is this? Like, he was dribbling past people. I was thinking, wow. Do you know what I mean? So, look, I think Rice would be a great pick, but English tax, we've seen what happens in the past. We've seen what happened with Ben White this summer. Rice is going to cost you a crazy amount of money.
It's interesting on Declan Rice, just before we move on, because I know somebody who's quite close to Declan Rice, and I don't think Declan Rice watches the United Stand. And if you do, give me a follow on Insta. But I've been told this a few times with Declan Rice, that he's actually one of the best footballers there is at West Ham. He's actually a bit of a baller, and he gets a bit frustrated that he has to play the holding role because there's so much more to his game, but he does it because he's told to do it. I don't know whether that's true or not. Maybe we will find out in the future. But I do think that at United, if you put him next to a Paul Pogba or a Van der Beek, he could run that midfield and be a little bit more expressive. And I do think that United suits Rice more than Chelsea. But he is a Chelsea boy, and I think that's where he will end up. So I don't think we can do that deal. Interestingly, though, I was just looking at Romano's been on Twitch tonight. And again, he has said about Matic, which was an exclusive on this show this afternoon when we had Romano on. I was talking about players leaving, and he did mention Matic, Levin. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, because, you know, we've kept Mata. I expected us to keep Matic. I was quite happy about it, because we do need, if we're going to clear a space, he's probably the one I would move out.
Yeah, and it was weird because we hadn't really heard much about Matic at all summer. All it was that the whole coaching thing and him wanting to be a coach, and that didn't really, you know, make people happy at all. I think it's good that we're finally starting to hear things, because I remember I did a show, I think it was a show I did yesterday, and Simon Jones from Daily Mail mentioned Matic and was like, he's considering his options. And I thought, if we start hearing stuff about Matic, that'll be good. So if Romano say it, means clearly there's something there. Look, Matic, if he was, we always say, right, if he was 5 years younger, brilliant, it'd be wonderful, but he's just not that player anymore. And you know, when you're watching him in the preseason friendlies and, you know, he's not looking great, or it's time. It's time to move on, especially because I'm pretty sure he's on quite a hefty wage as well, right? So get him out, bring somebody in. I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't think you'll get much money for him, but if you can just get him off the wage bill, that's good enough.
I did ask. Well, let's do Pogba first. Actually, what you know, Pogba now again. It's growing again. I think this is just bounce back from the Varane deal. You know, people are thinking now we've got Varane, maybe Pogba will go. What would you do with Pogba now? I don't think he's signing a new contract before August the 31st. Do you try and force a move, or do you just think, oh look, that team with Pogba in it for a year, let's just go all or nothing for a year. Maybe he will like it and he'll sign a new contract around Christmas time. We do run the risk of him going for nothing. Where do you sit on Pogba?
I think his mind's made up. I think he wants that new challenge. I think he wants to move on. And if his mind's made up, the best thing to do is probably to try and sell him. But at the same time, I lean towards the idea of, you know, we're better with Pogba than without. I don't think if we sell him, we even replace him. So it's like, let's just get the last year out of him. But then if you're playing devil's advocate on that point, are we going to get that year? If he's leaving and he knows he's leaving and he knows he's running down his contract, are we going to see Pogba week in, week out? The truth is, no. Do we even see Pogba week in, week out anyway? Not really. You know, he'll have his little injuries here and there. So, yeah, I think you probably just try and get the most out of him, but that's not what's going to happen, right? Because United will want to keep him. And so they will play it off as we are doing our best to keep him. And they'll probably think in their heads, look, if we have a brilliant season, maybe we can convince him when it's, you know, comes to that time next summer. So, yeah, I'll expect him to stay, but, you know, it's a shame because I like Pogba. I think when people hear me say, oh, yeah, it's probably the best thing to sell people Pogba, they think, oh, rah, not another Pogba here. No, I like Pogba, one of my favorite players. But at the end of the day, if he wants to leave, he wants to leave. I can't force him to stay.
I think what I'm with you. I'm like, before this summer started, I was like, you can't let him run his contract down. He goes for nothing. It's embarrassing. It's the second time we've done it. What bunch of prats does that? And now we're so close to the start of the season. I'm like, no, I don't want McFred. I don't want McFred in that midfield. We've got Varane and Sancho. We're going to be Bagel FC, the donut, you know, the mint with a hole. It's McFred or it's keep Pogba for a year. And for me, that makes the decision quite easy. It's like, Pogba, please stay. Although if he stays, he'll probably put him on the bloody left wing anyway. So maybe that's a bit of a naive way of thinking. But I'm just probably a little bit like you. Yeah, you've got to try and get the money and get rid of him. But and look, the path has never been clear with Paul Pogba. We've always had an issue. And a whole year of Romano going, he's off here, he's off there. Will he, like you said, will he settle or not? But, you know, the dream is get Pogba in that midfield, get a good holding midfielder next to him. Cavani's up front for one more year. Varane, Sancho, Bruno, Luke Shaw. Let's have a go. Let's have a proper go. But yeah, it's tough.
When you look at the clubs that it's like he's even linked to, it's like people will say, obviously there's PSG who are more involved and, you know, they're a different story. But when it's like, when I hear Real Madrid and Barca, I'm like, you know, great clubs historically, but they are both not looking good right now. In terms of Barcelona, we all know the financial ruin they're in, and Real Madrid look like they're in somewhat of a similar position. It's why they're so willing to just take the 30 mil for Varane, right? Like they will take anything. So I don't know if players are savvy to that, right? And maybe they're not because, you know, clearly Varane has ignored the past 10 years for us and just looked at when we tried to sign him 10 years ago. He's not seen anything. Glazer's not done nothing about that. Is Fergie still the manager? Like, I don't know what Varane's thinking. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what he's thinking. But I'm happy he's here. But the point is, like, I just don't know if players are savvy to that. So maybe, regardless, Pogba would prefer Real Madrid or Barcelona over us. But either way, yeah, he's probably out the door. It's probably done. You don't hear Pogba and his agent, well, not even Pogba, you don't hear his agent going, yeah, he's leaving every year for the past 4 years and then just assume because we're good in that last year, like everything will be fine. I think it probably is the end of the road for him at United.
I do think he'll stay for another year. But I think for the reasons you just said there, because he'll want the pick of where he's going to go. And I'm not sure PSG is the right move. And I think that's the only move he can make. And he might regret that in a year and go, oh, you know, I'm in a big contract with PSG now and I could have been free. I could have stayed and played with Sancho and Varane for 1 year. I think that's what's coming. But, you know, the problems that could cause, you know, we saw what happened last Christmas. You know, it could be problematic. It's not ideal. And I don't know how United deal with that situation. I do want to just, there's quite a few bits of news to go through, but I did want to ask you just why it's in my head, because obviously when Levin first came on the show, the thing that impressed me about his video that he did was that he was a pragmatic Ollie outer. It wasn't about, you know, he's a PE teacher or anything like that. It was about, you know, I just don't think he's the right man for the job. How do you sit? Because I mean, we get a lot of Ollie outers in the chat. How do you sit now that Sancho's in, Varane's in? Are you thinking at some point next year you're going to be Ollie in again, or do you still think that this is going to be? I mean, you're welcome to be Ollie in again. I don't think it's not. We're not living in an absolute society where if you're Ollie out, that's it. The bus is closed. You can come back on the bus and sing he's at the wheel. That's fine. But do you think that will happen? You know, there's so many good players now. It's all. I suppose the question is, can he fail in this situation? Is it excusable to fail with this sort of quality that he's got?
Yeah, I always feel like I have to clarify this with the Ollie thing because people will be like, how are you Ollie out when you don't really talk bad about him too much? Look, he can fail. And if he does fail, it will be inexcusable, right? Because I think people will just look at it like he's been given world-class players You know, he has been back this summer. Obviously, you know, we need to see what else is done, but I think, yeah, of course, he definitely can fail. I'd like to think he can't, because at the end of the day, regardless of what you think of Ollie, his success is our success. I support Manchester United, and I want to see Manchester United do well. And if we're doing well, it probably means Ollie's doing well. Look, the key thing for me, the reason why I say I'm Ollie out, and I'll clarify it again now, ultimately, if you're asking me if I'm Ollie in or out, it's not because I'm not Ollie out because I'm banging down the door like, get him out of my club now. That's not what it is. It's at the end of the day, do I think he is good enough to be a Manchester United manager? Do I think he's the man to take us back to where I believe we should be as a club? At the moment, from what he's shown me, no, that is the reality. That's why I say I'm Ollie out. Does that mean he can change? Does that mean he can improve? Of course, right? If next season, that's what I always say to people. If you're Ollie out, if next season he wins the treble, are you going to sit there and say Ollie out still? You're not, because he can change your mind. Like he can improve as a manager. He can change your mind. He's frustrated me plenty times over the past year. He has. I'll be honest. He has frustrated me so many times over his tenure. But you know, he's also made me happy. He's also, you know, showing me that maybe he can improve. He's a nice guy at the end of the day. Like it's hard to hate such a nice guy. Do you know what I mean? That's why, you know, I try not to be disrespectful and call him a PE teacher and all this, because it's unfair to him. But look, hopefully he proves me wrong. Hopefully he proves the rest of the people who doubt him wrong. And it looks like the club are setting him up to do so, because, you know, bringing in Varane, bringing in Sancho is great for us.
It is, and I think, you know, with Solskjaer, I want him to do well, but I almost think the standard, the margins are a lot higher now, because by bringing in Sancho and Varane, you make your job easier because you've got better players, but you also expose yourself more, because when you get in second place playing dodgy football with Magaluf and McFred, which, you know, the football was dodgy last year. We ground out a lot of results and we did really, really well. And you can't criticize that, because it's like, well, you know, this is what it's all about. But when you've got Varane and Sancho, Pogba, Bruno, etc., if you're grinding out results against Burnley 1-0 at home, that's not, you know, yeah, we're winning, and there will be fans going, oh, what you moaning about, we're winning, because, you know, everyone's got a right. But also, the thing I like about these signings really is that you've got to play good football with them. You've got to play good football with them, because if you don't, you're going to get exposed very, very quickly.
Yeah, and I think, you know, he's been given players who at least will allow him to maybe have a bit more freedom with that. I think at the end of the day, you look last season, for about half the season, his job was under pressure. For about half the season, you had people going, get him out, get Pochettino in. You know, a man performing under pressure, at the end of the day, he's going to go to the place he trusts, right? And I think that's why he's leaned so heavily on McFred, because he does trust them. And in the big games, they've gotten him results, similar to Dan James in some of the bigger games, right? I think when your job's under pressure, you will lean on the people you trust. And some of those people that he unfortunately trusts for us just aren't good enough, right? The McFreds of the world. Whereas now, when you're bringing in players like Varane and Sancho, who hopefully he will trust them because they are world-class players, then at least you're not as scared. Like you know, I'd like to think the football won't be as timid. It will be a lot more expansive. We'll play an exciting way. You know, you hear Ed Woodward talking in the press release with Ollie's re-signing, going, yeah, you know, we're trying to play that United way, attacking football. All right, do that then. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, we will hold you accountable. That's why people complain, because you can't make statements like that and then not do it. We expect good football. And so, yeah, you know,
Ed Woodward already thinks we are. He says, you know, we need to. Ed Woodward doesn't know a lot about football, to be honest with you. But you know, there you go. But Ollie needs to be more ruthless, says DK. The interview with Teddy opened my eyes. Ollie, as well as look, that interview with Teddy Sheringham was great, and in no way was he slating Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He was actually saying he's done a good job. But I asked him the question, and Teddy Sheringham said, I probably wouldn't have thought he would have gone into management. He's a fantastic family man. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met in football. I wouldn't have thought he would have gone into management. He's a nice guy, but he's open about that himself. He said, you know, I'm never going to be that manager who gets angry on the touchline. You know, that's not me. That was Sir Alex. So, you know, it's I hope he does well, Ollie. There's going to be that doubt. I think even the strongest Ollie inner is going to have that doubt, definitely. Yeah, We've had a bit of breaking news here from the Telegraph, James Ducker, which is verifying what David Ornstein said. So it's only verifying what we said at the start of the video, because there is still reports that we're going to pay 50 million euros. Manchester United have agreed to pay Real Madrid an initial 34.2 million, with a further 8.5 million payable in add-ons following successful talks with Madrid and Varane over the past 78 hours. The total deal will be worth around 42.7 million, which is 50 million euros. So 42 million pounds, but we pay 34.2 now. And that's a fantastic deal, Evan, isn't it? I mean, 50 million euros makes it sound a lot, but we're English. We live in pounds. 42 million pounds for Rafael Varane. That's less than we paid for Fred.
It's just so weird to think
about.
It's
half what we paid for bloody Maguire. That's
you know what I mean? Yeah, it's mad. Now, don't give me flashbacks to Maguire. I don't know how we paid that much for Maguire. I love Maguire, but it's insane. Look, and it's not his fault, and he can't do nothing. But Varane, he's not going to have that pressure of being a 90 million marquee signing or something stupid like that, right? Like, he can just come in, do a job. He's excited about the new challenge, and that's the big thing for me, because you know, if you want to be critical, yeah, you can look at Varane's last season and say, look, he had a dip in form. It's understandable. Don't get me wrong. Even him at a dip in form is still better than the majority of centre-backs in world football, but it is true. And I think when you hear all these reports about he wants that new challenge, it gives me optimism, because even I can understand his dip in form. Like, you've been at the club for 10 years and you've won. What more is there to achieve? Like, I can definitely understand that. I can definitely see that. So, you know, I think this could be sort of that, you know, rejuvenation in his career, because he's a player who did peak quite young, which is a good thing, right? He was great at such a young age, but this is now like the second chapter in his career, an opportunity to really get back to his best, and I do think he'll take it, and it's just going to be so good. Him and Maguire at the back, man, like, we're going to be so solid in defense, so solid.
Well, you know, yeah, I think closer to the new season, when we've seen him play, we'll start talking about the impact that he's going to have. But for the moment, we need him to hold that shirt up. I mean, just a couple of things I would say. Romano and a few others have said that the medical won't be till next week. It gets announced officially. So we're going to have to wait a little bit. So, you know, bit of patience there. But look, it's done. And also, a lot of people in the chat are saying, yeah, but we're getting him because he's got 1 year left on his contract. And yeah, look, I understand that. You know, Maguire didn't have 1 year left on his contract. It brings the price down. Doesn't make it not a great deal, though.
Football, look at the way football's changed. Look at what PSG just did. Do you think PSG fans are upset because they got Ramos on the free, Wijnaldum on the free? Like, they're not upset. Donnarumma on the free. Like, that's just how it is now. I think you look at what's going on with these super agents, people like Raiola, who want to run down players' contracts. And I think clubs realize this, and their counter to it is, okay, we will just capitalize on all these players who are free. Like, that's just how it is. Players who are free, players who are on, you know, the final year of their contract. If you look at the way business has been done in the past couple of years, ever since like the whole Neymar transfer, right? Players who have loads of years left on their contract, those deals can't be done. Like, they can't be done. Look at Jack Grealish last season, right? You're hearing 80 mil, and now, to be fair, maybe you could argue it's worth it for Jack Grealish because he's great. But like, you know, the money you have to pay for these players who are deep into their contracts, or sorry, not deep into their contracts, it's so steep that, like, I don't blame top clubs for going after these players with 1 year left or on a free. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make it not a good deal. In fact, it makes it a more intelligent deal to me.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think if we hadn't have got this deal, if this was last summer or 2 summers ago, got no chance. Absolutely no chance. Man United wouldn't spend 80 million on him, and I don't think Real Madrid would sell him for that. So we've benefited. But I go back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago. Anyone else could have got in this race. You know, for a United fan to disrespect or be, oh, it's only because he's got 1 year left on is ridiculous. For any other rival fan to be going, oh, you only got it because it's 1 year. Well, what's your club doing? What is your club doing? It's not a big secret. We've been talking about a centre-back for ages. And everyone was going, Varane's the dream, but we'll never get it done. Well, we did get it done. And anybody else could have tried to get it done if they wanted to, and they didn't. I just want to bring in here, because I know this is news today, that Newcastle are looking at getting hold of Axel Tuanzebe. Of course, with Varane and Maguire, obviously they're going to be first choice. That leaves Lindelof, Bailly, Tuanzebe, Jones. I mean, look, forget Jones in a way, but it's disrespectful. Varane to Newcastle, but they're talking about it maybe being a not just a loan, but it could be a permanent deal. Is it the time to do that?
Yeah, I think everyone in chat's going to be like, Varane to Newcastle. No, he meant Tuanzebe. Tuanzebe, chill. Look, I like Tuanzebe. Like, I told the story about like the interview after the PSG game, right? Like, you know, him calling Neymar and Mbappe a run out. Like, I like Tuanzebe, but he does need to play football. Like, he does. Like, I was surprised. He's what, like 24 or something, or he's turning 24 soon or something like that. Like
he's always 22 to me, but I bet he's not 22 anymore.
Let's check his age just to be sure before people say we're talking rubbish and whatnot.
23, 24 in November.
Yeah, like he's turning 24 quite soon, and it's like, you know, he's still young, of course. I'm not saying he's getting on or anything, but it's like he just needs to play football week in, week out, and he's not going to do that now. Like, let's be real. He was barely getting time when it was just Lindelof and Bailly in front of him. He's not getting game time. He needs to move on. And if it's a loan thing where maybe we loan him and then, you know, we see what happens with Lindelof and Bailly, maybe, because you could definitely see one of those maybe wanting to leave in the next year or two. And so then you bring Tuanzebe back and he comes into the rotation, fair enough. But if that's not going to work, I'm not upset if we get rid of him. It's, you know, sometimes things don't work out. You know, expect players to be great for your club and they're not. Maybe he'll move on and do great things somewhere else, but that might be the end of the chapter for him.
My only issue with it is I agree. I think Tuanzebe could have been good enough, but I felt last season was the chance. And for whatever reason, Ollie didn't give him the chance. You know, he played really well at the end of the season. He played very well against PSG. We persisted with Lindelof. I felt Bailly should have got more chances as well. Them chances are going to be even less now. You know, you bring Varane in, Lindelof becomes the third choice. Tuanzebe becomes the whatever choice. I'd like it to be a loan deal to Newcastle, but ultimately, what's that proving? You know, is he going to come back next year and get his spot? He'll be 24 going 25. I sort of feel that, and I've got to drink my own medicine here. I always say you've got to be ruthless in the transfer market and aggressive in what you do in bringing in. We've been aggressive in getting Varane. Maybe we've got to be ruthless. The only thing I would say, Levin, is that if you're selling Tuanzebe because you can get money for him, if you sell him Lingard because you can get money for him, the frustration is keeping the likes of Matic and Pereira and Phil Jones. And, you know, we did it with Rojo as well. These players that we can't get rid of, they hang around the place as well.
Yeah. And I think ultimately that's where you look at, you know, John Murtough, right? If you're really going to start giving him credit, you know, a director of football, their job is to build a squad, right? Really is to manage that. And, you know, over the past, since Ollie's come, right, it's been in a much better state than what it once was. But these are the kind of things that need to be dealt with because, yeah, at the end of the day, some of the players, the money that they're on, it isn't justified. And we do talk about being ruthless all the time. And you know, sometimes as much as you might have an attachment to a player, it's okay to let them go. It's the reason why I think a lot of fans are fine with Lingard going because we all like, I don't see people say like, Lingard's rubbish, man, get him out. Maybe one or two, but you always get that. But most people are just like, yeah, I want to see Lingard do well. Like I like Lingard. I just want to see him do well. And I think, you know, whether it's Mata, Matic, whoever it is, Pereira, like, just move on. Like I might like you, but please it's time to go.
Well, yeah, there's a super chat on the screen there actually saying that Manchester United have basically got two squads to rotate with fans back in the ground. It's going to be a buzzing season. Ollie in, Champions League's ours, but as we know with Ollie, he doesn't rotate. So that's one of the things that if he does rotate, becomes one of the improvements based on last season. We need to see that rotation from Manchester United without a shadow of a doubt. There was something there about that Romano had said on his Twitch channel this evening. I didn't ask him about it, to be honest. I had more interesting things to ask him about. But he spoke about United still interested in Trippier, AC Milan still interested in Dalot. Where do you sit on that? I mean, you know, there are people in the chat that are saying this is just wasted energy. At the end of the day, Dalot looks quite good. Give him another season at Old Trafford to challenge Wan-Bissaka, save yourself some time, and focus on a midfielder. Whereas Trippier's not an easy deal to do. You're going to have to spend a lot of time on that deal. Dalot's not an easy loan to do. Surely it's, you know, advisable for United if the midfielder is so important, prioritise that and just stick with Dalot.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at really. I'd much rather us just put all our resources towards getting, you know, a DM or a midfielder of some sort. Whereas, you know, Milan are so desperate to keep Dalot. There's clearly something there. Like, clearly he's not a nothing player. I'd love to see him get a chance. And let's see if he does have the hunger to sort of fight back for that spot. Because I think, you know, when he was picked up by Mourinho, at one point, you know, this spot was supposed to be his, right? You know, it wasn't supposed to be Wan-Bissaka. It was supposed to be Dalot as the first choice right back. So I'd love to see if he'd come back and fight for that spot. But yeah, just look, Trippier, if we could have got that deal done efficiently and quickly, I would have been fine with it. You know, I've spoken about that on the channel. Like, I would have been fine with it. But if it's going to drag out, just don't waste your time on it. Please, just do not waste your time on it whatsoever.
I think that the thing with Delo is that I think we've almost been taught to, not rate Delo, and because Solskjaer doesn't rate Delo. And I suppose with Trippier, I suppose the advantage of bringing Trippier in is there's this real belief that he could push Wan-Bissaka out of the team because he's very experienced. He's that good. It'd be interesting. Be interesting if we get Trippier, because I think there are people that are very critical of Wan-Bissaka at the moment. And I suppose if we keep Delo, Wan-Bissaka is going to be the number one. If you bring Trippier in and you get Delo out, there's this feeling that maybe Trippier can push Wan-Bissaka out, and that might be good for Wan-Bissaka.
I think like the Trippier thing to me almost seems like it's like trying to replicate what happened on the left with Telles and Shaw. The big thing about that though is, everybody's different. And so Wan-Bissaka might not respond in the way Shaw did, where he becomes this world-class right back, right? And, obviously it's just he say, she say, it's, it's what ifs essentially, right? And, talking about what ifs, you can talk all day. But at the end of the day, I'm fine with Delo. Honestly, I'm fine with Delo. I get the Trippier thing because, it does make sense, because he would come in and he can actually challenge more for that spot. Whereas Delo, that spot, there's no question about it. The spot does belong to Wan-Bissaka. So, I get it. But at the same time, I just don't want to waste time on it, Mark. That's just me. I just don't want to waste time on it. I think there's much more important things to deal with at the club at the moment. And I'd rather us just focus that.
I don't mind if we get Trippier, as long as it's after we've got a good midfielder in. If we go and get Ruben Neves and then we decide we want Trippier, happy days. But get the midfielder in first, definitely. Just a few updates just to bring you. Rafael Varane has told Real Madrid during the weekend, I want to try something new, a new challenge. I respect you, but I'm not extending my contract today or in the following months. I'm leaving as a free agent next summer. So basically, Varane in a nice way said, sell me or you're getting nothing for me. And he also apparently said, if you are not happy with Manchester United's proposal this summer, I'm leaving as a free agent as I want to try something new in England. And that's why United pushed in the last hours to get the deal done. So to be fair, looks like Levin there. Not Fabrizio Romano, Rafael Varane basically said, look, I respect this club, Real Madrid, but I'm going. And if you don't sell me now to Manchester United, I'll go for nothing next summer. And that's obviously what's sort of forced this deal through. I
like that. I like that. Knowing that he does just want to come to United, like that, I think that's the big thing, right? Where it seems like he had his heart set on United. And it links back to what I was saying earlier with like maybe players not being as savvy to the ins and outs of what's going on at a club year to year. But, I think clearly there's something there from back when he was at Lens and, we tried to get him all the way back then. He clearly does still have that respect and admiration for us. And, for him to want to come and actually want to play for the badge, that's everything you can ask for. It's all you can ask for from a player of his caliber moving to us.
Yeah, and also just a little bit of clarity around other interest. Romano has said, he spoke about this on the video this afternoon that he did with me, but it's on Twitter as well, that PSG were interested but opted to go for Ramos, and Chelsea were very interested. But then when they won the Champions League, they decided they were happy with their squad and wanted to take longer to review it. So, things happen. Everything happens for a reason. I'm not so sure if Chelsea wanted Varane that we would have got him. But then again, as you just said there, that he does seem to have this attraction to Manchester United. So maybe we would have gone. Maybe it would have happened anyway. And the reality is, all if buts and maybes. 1 year left on his contract. Other clubs, but I just think a lot of this for me, Levin, is because as a fan base, we're in shock. Yeah. We're almost looking for a reason how this has landed in our lap for 35 million quid. One of the world's best centre-backs who's 28, won everything, isn't coming towards the end of his career, isn't some potential signing. He's actually a leader in the prime of his career, 28 years of age, won numerous Champions Leagues, the Ligas, a World Cup, quick, good in the air, good on the ball, better than Maguire, actually. And we just wanted somebody to play with Maguire that was quick. We went and got one of the world's best centre-backs to play with Maguire.
Yeah, I think that you put that perfectly. Like, I think people genuinely are trying to figure out how has this come about. Like, I was just sitting there today, like, Varane, really? You think to yourself, like, how? And maybe I just need to accept that we still do have the pool. Because I think after 9 years of this or 8 years of this, you think, yeah, the pool must be gone by now, right? But clearly not. Clearly, top players do still have that, admiration of United. And that's only a good thing for us, right?
Yeah, and yeah, good point in there. Just before I talk about something that Romano said about the midfield, because it is back into the midfield. And I've probably not mentioned this for a while, but we have mentioned it in the past, that for all we say about Varane, and, you know, we've just been speaking there about how Rafael Varane this weekend said to Real Madrid, you know, I respect you, but I want to go to Manchester United, and if you don't sell me for the fee that they want, then I will just go in a year for nothing. And, you know, Levin was there and I was there saying that's great, but actually Paul Pogba could have that very same conversation next weekend when he comes back with United and say, look, I respect you, but I want to go to PSG for 40 million euros. And if you don't sell me now, I will go for nothing next year.
Yeah. Now that you put it like that, Varane might have just given Pogba the blueprint. And if that's the case, you know, what can we do? What can we do?
Well, I said this, and I don't know whether you've heard me say this before, but there's nothing to stop Paul Pogba running his contract down and going to Chelsea or Man City next summer. We all assume he's going to go off to Paris or Juventus or Roma, Real Madrid or Barcelona, maybe Bayern Munich. But he might actually go, you know what? I fancy a bit of that. I like Manchester. I'm going to go and play with Pep. You know, so that is the risk we run, definitely.
Yeah, I really hope not. I really hope not. But yeah, I can see. I think the big thing is, unless it's genuinely just a change of scenery and it's like the want to try something new thing, if it is more to do with, like, you know, him having ambition and wanting to achieve, you know, everything at the highest level of football, like if he wants to win a Champions League, like I can see that. I can see why he's want to go to PSG, because they've obviously been contenders the past couple of years and, like, you know, they look like they're really trying to make that push. But there's nothing stopping us from doing that this season or showing that we can do that to, you know, this season. So it really depends on where it is. And I think we can't pinpoint where it is, because you can look at it and it could be both. It could be one or the other. I hope it is to do more with, you know, actually challenging and football related things, because if it's that, we have a chance to show him and prove him wrong over the next season. And that's what will make it such a big season, what will make it such a make or break season for Ollie. But if it is just to do with, like, just wanting a move, like he just wants to move on, he wants to go to Real Madrid, he wants to go to Paris or whatever, we are helpless in that sense. So,
yeah, and as we've said on Pogba, and look, it's for everyone to make their own mind up. We could be in a situation where we just go, Paul, you know, how angry will you be if we just say run your contract down? And he might go, I won't be angry at all.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, should we just go for it one last year? Let's go. You know, let's try it. And that might be the thing. But of course, we'll lose 40, 50 million by doing it. It's going to be an interesting few weeks with Pogba anyway. We'll see what happens with that. But there isn't the reason I got back onto the Pogba thing there was because somebody made that very good point in the chat. So thank you very much for that. Just on midfielders, don't know whether you saw this. I mean, I did speak to Fabrizio about Saul Niguez this afternoon and Goretzka, and he gave us updates on there. As he said, Goretzka, it looks very hard. Saul Niguez, looking like Barcelona, but United or Liverpool would be there to pick up the pieces if that falls apart. What he did say about Ruben Neves is that Neves might be a name on the list, but there's nothing imminent at the moment. Midfielders, Man United will look for an opportunity in the market and then we'll decide on the target. So again, that development is there around midfielders that me and Levin were talking about before. And I do really think, for me, Levin, that where would you rank this summer transfer window at the moment? And it's the same for the chat at the moment. If it's out of 10, if Pogba stays for one more year and we get Varane and Sancho, out of 10, how would you rank that? And, you know, I suppose I'm trying to say, is the midfielder key to it really being a good window, or is it not that bad if we don't?
Nah, for me, I'd put it as a 7, and I'd put it as a 7 because I'm not going to be a hypocrite. At the start of the window, I said, you know, I was out there saying, look, you can get Sancho, you can get Varane, but we need a DM, right? And so I'm not going to just change now because we've actually got 2 of the 3 and go, nah, you know, I'm actually fan of it now. Like, I'll give it a 7. If you get the DM, then you make it, you know, a 10 or a 9 or whatever it is you want to give it. It's interesting, like, the wording from Fabrizio there, because I always do try to pay attention to the wording. I feel like maybe you can always pick certain things out from that. But, you know, him saying looking for opportunities in the market, it does just seem like it's going to have to be something similar to where it's like, you know, a year left on their deal, or, you know, you can sort of, you know, put pressure on the team to do something similar to like the Camavinga situation. I know that's slowed down a bit, but, you know, when I hear people like Romano say opportunities in the market, that's what I think of. Like, Varane was an opportunity in the market because it's a player who is class, but you can get him for much lower than what he's actually valued. And so in terms of all the options, right, where all the options we listed off at the start of the show, how many of those look like opportunities in the market? Not many. Maybe with Wolves, maybe Ruben Neves decides he wants to like request a transfer because he believes he should be playing in Europe and all that. Maybe that would become an opportunity, but that's where I'm a bit concerned because none of those jump out to me as crazy opportunities. Maybe, you know, one of the young French DMs because France is in a crisis money-wise and this and all that.
Basuma will be an opportunity. I just don't know whether United... The thing that worries me about Basuma is that, you know, I've heard him linked with Liverpool, I've heard him linked with Arsenal. I've never heard him linked with Manchester United, and he's definitely an opportunity because I'm sure Potter would look at Garner and say, well, I quite like him, or Dan James, I quite like him. So there's a deal that could be done there. But, you know, I suppose that's what Romano is saying, really, isn't it? United are going to look at the market and see where the opportunities are, and what opportunities mean. Everybody at home is, where's the value? Because they might look at Neves, and Wolves might go, forget about it for anything less than 70. And, you know, Goretzka's impossible. Rice, they want 80. You know, maybe Brighton, if they sell Ben White for 50 million to Arsenal, they say they want 60 for Basuma. So I think price is the opportunity that United are probably going to be looking around for, Levin. Yeah,
and it may be hard to find that. It may be hard to find that at this stage, but I think as we get closer and closer to the deadline, it's going a bit funny there. As we get closer to the deadline, I think, you know, more of these opportunities will arise, right? Because you will start to hear rumblings of, you know, so-and-so players, you know, want to move and they're going to leave in January on a free or whatever it is. So it might take time, which isn't good because, you know, I do want to just get the players in as soon as possible, but let's see what happens.
Definitely. And I think as well, just to go back, I would rank this transfer window probably, 7.5. If we get a midfielder and it's a good midfielder, you're knocking up for 9 there, you know. I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 because a 10 out of 10 would be Haaland as well or something like that, you know. So I'd give it a 9. But for me, I've always said as well, like Levin, the midfield was always going to be the position that would, you know, make or break this window. And yeah, you can get the best centre back available, which we have. You can get the best right winger available, which we have. But there was 3 big holes in this team, and the biggest hole was the one in the middle. And if we don't fill that, then we haven't achieved what I felt was the most important thing at the start of the window. And I can't be detracted or hypocritical, as Levin said, by going, oh, look at those shiny toys. But yeah, we haven't fixed what we needed to fix. And I do agree with Levin as well, that I think that if we're going to get a midfielder, we're maybe looking not to have them in for the first game against Leeds, which, you know, in itself is not ideal. But, you know, we're not even linked to anybody yet. And we know, although we've been quick with Varane, I don't know whether we can get something done in 2 weeks when we're not even linked to anybody. So we'll see. But the value will drop at the end of the window. Of course it will. We'll see what happens with that. There was another... Oh, yeah, I know what I wanted to talk about as well. This is fake news anyway. There was a story going around about Martial for Haaland.
Oh.
I think even with Martial, they would still be paying over £100 million for Haaland. But I did read somebody today was saying that Martial is up for sale if anyone will pay the money for him. I keep seeing this stuff like, you know, Dan James will stay at the club now because Rashford's having his operation. And I'm like, well, we've got Anthony Martial. What is it with Anthony Martial? Where do you sit on Anthony Martial? Because it's like people would rather keep Dan James than give Martial another go just for one bad season.
Yeah, I don't get it either because, you know, when we got rid of Lukaku and it was like Oli is putting his trust in Martial as a number 9, you know, that was really like, you know, it was sort of like a statement and you can, you know, you want to see it play out. But then at the same time, we always hear these things about Oli having an obsession with a striker. And so it just makes you think, so what, is Martial not in his plans? Like, because he never plays Martial on the right. He doesn't even, but at least with Rashford, he tries to play Rashford on the right. He never bothers with Martial. And I don't know, under normal circumstances, at least, he's not starting Martial over Rashford on the left. So what is it with Martial? And I think maybe that's the way it is. I think they're fine with Martial staying, right? Like, you know, sure, you know, he's probably a nice guy. They probably like him, and he can put in a performance. Like, I think it's really unfortunate how last season went for him, considering the season before that, how it went. But, you know, that's what it is. There's a lot of recency bias in football. You know, you got to live with that. But yeah, I think if someone's willing to pay what United will want for him, then, you know, we'll give him up. Is that fair on Martial? Probably not. He probably feels as if he has a claim to that number 9 spot, which will be Cavani's, but he'll probably be thinking, yeah, I know last season wasn't too great, but I did have an injury. Like, did you forget what I did the season before? So who knows? But I don't want him to be sold. But if we're gonna get good money for him and he doesn't have a future because he's not in Ollie's plans, then I'm not too bothered.
Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe, bottom right hand corner. It's been a crazy day today. Loads have gone on, and I was just thinking there actually that just while Evan was talking about Martial, and I'll just say about Martial, what I was thinking is that for me, you know, Rashford has the operation. You've got Rashford and Martial on the left. You've got Martial can also play through the front. We know Cavani can't play every week. You've got Greenwood who can play through the front as well with Martial. So you've got three options up front. You've got Martial and Rashford who can play off the left. You've got Sancho who can play off the left. And on the right-hand side, you've got Greenwood and Sancho and Ahmad. Yeah. So that's my six. It's Ahmad, Martial, Greenwood, Rashford, Cavani and Sancho. That's my six. Dan James, Lingard, bye. You know, I don't know what Ollie's thinking. I don't know what he's thinking about Dan James as an option on the left-hand side. Because for me, even if Rashford has the operation and he's out for 2 months, you start with Martial. If he doesn't do that well, you've got Ahmad, you've got Sancho who can play off that side. You know, we need six. That's what we need. We need six. And
what a brilliant six we have.
Yeah. But what he'll be thinking is he'll be doing what he was doing in January, where Brandon Williams could have gone on loan to Southampton and he was like, what if I get an injury at right back? And then he didn't get an injury at right back. And then Brandon Williams wasted another 4 months of his career. So, you know, maybe that's going to sort of work in that sense. I don't know. But we will. Do you watch Love Island, Levin?
No, but I know after, you know, last I can't remember what show it was, but I came in the show once and I sent a super chat in saying, thanks for the show. I'm off to watch Love Island now.
That's why I said it. I was trying to catch you out.
Nah, but you know what? Yeah, I used to watch Love Island, but I've just heard it's, you know, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not against it, but
Leven Island.
I'd jump on Love Island if they get me on. I'd jump on it. Why not?
You never know. You never know. What I was also thinking about is though, and we'll have to see if this happens or not. I feel that with United, we've had that. I mean, look, Sancho was a deal from last year, but it was still a good deal. Varane was a deal that started around the end of the Euros, and we were like, whoa, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. I wonder. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I just wonder if maybe over the next week or two we start to get the midfielder vibes, the midfielder links. And I just think, you know what, the way this summer's gone, it wouldn't surprise me if we knocked on the door to West Ham and said Declan Rice plus 50 million for, with Lingard. I mean, I'm not. It probably won't happen. As a percentage, I'd put it down low. But I was down low with Varane at the start. So I just hope the way this summer's gone, United have done well. To own this summer, they've got to bring a good midfielder in. I hope they've got a plan, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
Yeah. The only thing that makes me question that, though, is that even before we had Varane, you were hearing a lot about the links, whereas there hasn't been like the one DM where there have been the repetitive links, right? It's been, oh, we admire Declan Rice. Oh, you know, there's Saul we're talking to. And I think maybe if now we start to get there, if now we start to get a report saying Manchester United have set their eyes on Declan Rice and they are looking to get that deal done, like, I'm cool with that, and that's brilliant. And I do hope that happens, because I think, yeah, maybe if you are Woodward and Matt Judge and, you know, John Murta, you know, all the boys, you might be thinking, actually, you know, we're the guys. Like, let's go get Declan Rice. You know what I mean? Maybe they'll be feeling pride and confidence in that sense, but I'm not on my toes. I'm not, you know, sitting there waiting for it to happen. I'm, you know, when I start hearing things, then I'll start to say no, because I feel like that's how you get your heart broken. You know what I mean? We've been lucky with the Sancho and the Varane, but now if I just expect Rice or something like that, then I'll just get my heart broken. So I'm just, you know, I'm going to keep myself closed off, and you know, when they show it to me, then I'll accept it.
A lot of people talking about Sky Sports News are saying that there is Sky Sports News is saying United agree a fee for Varane. I mean, are you taking the piss? Are you actually taking the piss? Is this genuinely like meant to be breaking news? Sky Sports News, breaking news. Varane to Manchester United. Personal terms agreed in about 3 weeks. I mean, what? Just deal with it. Sky Sports this summer are slow sports news. Like, what? Why am I going to check Sky Sports News for fee agreed? Where have you been for the last 8 hours? We've been talking about this deal being done for ages. At the start of the show, we were talking about David Ornstein, who's not from Sky. The Telegraph's James Ducker, who's not from Sky, telling you the fee of 34 million with add-ons taking it to 42. And you've got people going, Sky on their bloody dial-up carrier pigeon, 42 million. Oh, check Sky, everybody. Bloody chuck Sky in the bloody bin. They're slow, mate. They're slow. They still think we're signing bloody Lindelof from 2 years ago. Probably says Lindelof on there. But jokes apart, I mean, come on. Where have you been? We've been talking about this deal being done all day. We don't need to go and check Sky for £42 million. We were talking about an hour ago.
It's insane, man. I don't understand if it was like BBC, because like, you know, maybe I think with them, like, it's different where like everything they say has to be right. So they'd probably try to get double, triple, quadruple confirmations or whatever. But like, what is Sky doing, man? It's actually embarrassing, honestly. If I was them, if I was the admin, yeah, when they're getting ready to tweet it on their Twitter, so I'd say, are you sure you want me to tweet this? Like, it's a bit embarrassing now. Like,
I don't know what they're doing, because I haven't seen people are saying that James Cooper's not on Sky anymore. Like, James Cooper outside Old Trafford and Carrington was really good. You know, we've had him on the show in the past. It was like you'd quote James Cooper, you would. We've not had any of that this summer. And I don't think because James Cooper's not on Sky anymore that's not why they're not any good. They've had good summers. I said this before. The summer we got Dan James, they were first. Wan-Bissaka, they were first, and they were very good. Harry Maguire, I think it was Sky Cave, he was very good. This summer they're just having a summer off. You know, they're too busy watching Love Island. They're not interested. Like, they're getting their news off Twitter. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're not the place to be this summer. But they, by the looks of it, they're going through a revamp, aren't they? So, and football's changing as well. Football is changing. I've got to shout out some of these Twitter accounts out there, like MUFC MPB, who is going out there speaking to foreign journalists, getting news. And I've always been aware with foreign news, right? Because I keep my eye on Italian outlets and Spanish outlets. On our news show, we'll talk about it, and then 2 days later, it'll be in a UK paper, because they're slow. They are slow, and I think journalism is changing and information is changing, and, you know, information is passing around a lot quicker than it used to be. We used to be very reliant on these mainstream media outlets, and they just can't keep up. So they'll probably be good again next summer. Sir Alex Ferguson says, hi, did you watch the United stand before you joined them? 11.
Yeah.
11.
Hey, 11, sunny, innit? Now, do you know what's funny? Yeah, so I guess if people want to know, right? So this is what actually happened. I remember you you made the video, and you were saying in the video, right, like, you're sending submissions, right, like, you know, send videos into the email address. And me and my friends, we watched the United song. We've been watching for quite a while now, and, you know, I sent in the group chat, like, gosh, I just send in a video, like, just why not, in it, just a bit of banter, like, sending a video, what could possibly go wrong? And all of them were just like, yeah, it might as well, like, who knows? And then here I am. So, like, and that's what I always say to people, like, I've not just been plucked out of nowhere. Like, I was literally just like most of you, just watching, and, you know, I thought, why not? So
there was a lot of people who sent stuff in as well, and Levin just stood out with a couple of others that was really good, and the rest is history. Which reminds me, actually, the email address is that'sfootballmedia@gmail.com. I think that's the one you used, Levin, actually, as well.
Yeah.
And obviously, Wednesday night, Brentford at Old Trafford, Everton at Old Trafford, and Preston at Preston on Saturday. If you are going to start going to these games, and you want to send us in like 5-minute, you know, match reactions, send them into that email. That's footballmedia@gmail.com, because we're mixing up our sort of match reactions from next season. Beth's going to be there, a few others are going to be there, but we're always looking for new voices. So if you're going to be at the games Wednesday night or next season or anything, get in contact. That's footballmedia@gmail.com, and we can take a look at that as well. There's always opportunities on this channel. That's the way it is. But look, make sure you smash a like on the video. I'm going to be live on Twitch at around 11:15 tonight with my new FIFA career mode. I've dropped the link in the video description for my Twitch, so just click it and give it a follow. Levin's on Twitch quite a bit as well, aren't you, Levin?
Yeah. I'm going to get back on the streaming grind now, but yeah, you can catch me at Levin2K. It's 11 without the E at the start, and then 2 and then the letter K. So yeah, on all social media as well.
You're 11-2K on everything, aren't you? Twitter.
Yeah. Twitter, Insta, TikTok. Even though I'm not really using that anymore, but TikTok as well.
There you go. Well, look, thanks for coming on, pal. Really appreciate it. We've whizzed through a lot.
No, yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. Looking forward to being back on in a bit. But there's some matches now. We got more and more. That's all I'm excited about. More and more football as we get into the season.
Yeah, transfer news is still there, but we are starting to move through the gears. I mean, it's going to be 2 weeks on Saturday to that opening game against Leeds, where points mean prizes. We've got to start the season well, haven't we? Definitely. But no, great to have Levin on. And thanks everyone for tuning in. It's been a right old busy day. I'm going to chill with a bit of FIFA at about, like I say, around 11 o'clock. I've dropped the link on Twitch. I'll tweet it out. We'll be back tomorrow. Be interesting to see what's coming in next, because Varane's basically done now. So we move on. We're just waiting for the official bit.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. What do we do for the thumbnails next? That's the question.
Yeah, we've exhausted. Well, we've got official Varane. Varane flies over the medical today. Question mark. No, there's milk in it. We move on. You know how I am. I get bored of something very quickly. It'll be Neves imminent tomorrow or something like that. Ryan, do me a thumbnail. Neves imminent, and do me 5 others. Camavinga imminent, Goretzka imminent, Sounders imminent, Rice.
All of them. Get them all in.
Yeah, and I'll just take the pick. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like, subscribe. Look, there's loads to watch as well. I must call out, that we had Fabrizio Romano on this afternoon saying, here we go. We had the reaction to the Varane news before that. So there's loads of content for you to watch on the channel today. I mean, just absolutely loads. And I've really enjoyed tonight. So big up, Levin.
See you guys all later.
And thanks everyone for watching.